works. And
you could have everybody a couple of minutes more to get in here, make sure nobody's having any problems before we get started. So give me just a few minutes.
I do want everybody to see my tie today. This is what I wear to the December board meeting every year. It's got an old curmudgeon on it. Some people say it's a likeness of me, but it says "Joy to the World" at the top, not "Bah Humbug." So you all have a happy holiday if I don't get a chance to say it later.
Very nice, Jim.
Yeah, Jim, I was actually thinking that was a picture of you.
It was a what?
That was a picture of you. So I'm glad you clarified that.
Yeah.
John, how are you doing today?
I'm well. How are you all?
I miss seeing your smiling face. When are we going to get back in person?
I'm not sure. I'll tell you. It's not only my smiling face, but my bow ties. I tell you, I'm still sporting the bow ties.
Well, the beard's so big, I didn't even see the bow tie underneath it.
There you go.
I need to change my view on my computer here. I'm not getting all the ties and all the other views.
So I think everyone that was going to join that let us know is in. Are we waiting on anyone else that y'all are aware of?
Is Barry in? I'm not seeing him anywhere.
I am here somewhere.
Oh, all right.
I am actually here.
Oh, there you are. I have to highlight you at the beginning. We need you here.
Most people do highlight.
Oh my God.
There's a reason for that, but anyway.
Well, we can go ahead and get started then. Hello, everyone. I'm Lauren Dansicle. I'm the Corporate Secretary and Acting General Counsel currently at KHC. As some of you all may know, Chair Dunham recently underwent surgery and is unable to attend today. Vice Chair Johnson is also unable to attend due to a conflicting cabinet meeting today. So in the absence of our Chair Dunham and Vice Chair Johnson, today I call the December 2022 Kentucky Housing Corporation Board meeting to order. Sarah, can you confirm that we have a quorum and that the press has been notified?
Yes, we do have a quorum and the press has been notified.
Thank you, Sarah. So due to Chair and Vice Chair's absence, we will need to have an elected chairperson pro tem to preside over this meeting. Barry Knopfsinger has graciously agreed to be Chair Pro Tem. Do I have a motion to elect Chairman Pro Tem Barry Knopfsinger?
So moved.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion that we bring Barry in as a temporary chair for this meeting. This is Steve Brunson.
Thank you, Mr. Brunson. Do I have a second?
I'll second Matt Wingate for the Cabinet for Economic Development.
Thank you. Okay, I have a motion and a second to elect Barry Knopfsinger as Chairperson Pro Tem. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign.
Sorry about that, Kathy. That was a pre-planned nomination.
Motion carried.
No, I was moving for Barry. Sorry,
That's no problem.
No, I greatly appreciate that, Kathy. So at least I had one that wasn't preordained. So that was great.
Mr. Knopfsinger, I go ahead and turn the meeting over to you.
Wonderful. Thank you. Luckily, we have a very short agenda today, so I think we can get through this fairly quickly with everybody's help. So anyway, in your packet and in the minutes, there is minutes that were associated with the October 27th meeting. Has everybody had a chance to review those? Is there any questions regarding the minutes? If none, I will entertain a motion to accept.
This is George. I'll move that we accept the minutes as tendered.
Second, Chad.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Minutes pass. So now, Sam, you're next on the agenda, the final resolution for the Gateway on Broadway.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. The Gateway on Broadway project was granted an inducement resolution on May 26, 2022 for bond authority in the amount of $25 million. And this final resolution would be for the same amount. This project involves the acquisition, construction, and rehabilitation of 116 units for elderly households located at 1405 West Broadway in Louisville. The project will serve 50 households at or below 30% area median income. 66 units will serve households at or below 50% area median income. Of the 116 units, 112 will be one-bedroom units and 4 will be two-bedroom units. The development team is available in your packet, and KHC staff recommends approval by the Board of Directors of Kentucky Housing Corporation of this final resolution for the issuance of bonds for the Gateway on Broadway.
So do we have any discussion?
I just want to say that the building itself will be truly a gateway to West Louisville. It's a hard project, and I'm glad to see it be able to move ahead.
Yeah, the development process has been long, and so we're hopeful that it'll close soon and be able to move forward.
So any further discussion? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion.
So moved.
I'll second.
So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes. So we're going to move over to Mrs. Smith. Mrs. Smith is going to be talking about their authorization to enter into a personal service contract with Capital Edge Consulting. So Wendy, do you want to take that away?
Thanks, Barry. I'm going to give you all a little background about this recommendation for this contract. Many of you have long heard us talk about our project-based contract administration program, or PBCA. This is a contract that we have with HUD where on HUD's behalf, we pay project-based Section 8 rent assistance to over 22,000 units across the Commonwealth. And these are rent subsidies that are tied to specific addresses, specific units in buildings owned privately across the Commonwealth. So every year or two, HUD threatens to or offers to rebid the contract, meaning it could become competitive. And we have to be kind of in this constant state of get ready and then wait. This has been going on for 12 years now, where they have talked about putting it out to rebid, and then it doesn't happen or it gets stalled or what have you. HUD is again talking about doing the rebid, and so we have to resume being in a state of readiness. So we put out an RFP to engage a contractor that would help us do the federal bid process. We've never done a federal bid. We always apply to what are called notices of funds available, or notice of funding opportunities through HUD and other agencies. We've never done the federal bidding process. So we need an expert who can help us do that. We can do the content related to the program, but not that bid process. And so we did an RFP earlier this year and would like to engage Capital Edge. They were our only qualified respondent to our RFP, but we do find them to have enough experience with federal bidding, and their price was reasonable at $30,000. That's our not to exceed with them. We do not know if we will even ever use them, and our contract allows for that possibility. But if we do have to go through a bid process, we need them at the ready. And so with that, I respectfully ask the board to consider entering into this contract.
So any discussion on Wendy's proposal? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion.
I make a motion.
We have a second.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. So great job, Wendy.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move right along. Now we're going into the approval of updated administrative plan for rental assistance program. I think, Jonathan, you're going to be discussing that with Marty.
Good afternoon. This is Marty, Maintenance Chilcote. Jonathan is not on our call today, but I want to just say good afternoon to the board members, Winston, KHC staff, and I will be presenting on behalf of the rental assistance programs today for the purpose of updating our administrative plan, which is to establish policies for administrating programs in a manner consistent with federal regulations. The federal regulations allow housing agencies to adopt policies to effectively administer our program, and the administrative plan must be updated frequently in order to keep up with those updated and changing regulations. What we are requesting today is to update our current voucher timeframe from 90 days to 120 days. So when we issue a voucher to a family that is receiving a voucher, they will have 120 days in lieu of that 90 days. And this is also to help administratively on our side to not have to approve so many voucher extensions.
So any discussion on this?
As someone who ran a Section 8 program, I am very appreciative of the 120 days, given the scarcity of housing and the having to get someone out to inspect and all of that.
Yeah, we feel that this is needed to help extend those timeframes for those initial search times.
Mm-hmm. So any further discussion? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion.
I move to accept this.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Great job, Marty. The motion passes.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, we're going to turn our attentions now to Kevin. Mr. Fields is going to present on the quality assessment review, the internal audits conformity with the IIA standards. See if I can say that 2 times fast. I think Jody and James, did y'all conduct the audit along with Kevin, or how did that work out?
Yes, I can. We performed the validation of the work that he did. Yes.
Great. So whoever would like to present, please take the floor.
Sure. So I'll just give a little background information to the board members, and good afternoon. Agenda item number 6 does concern the recent quality assessment review of KHC's internal audit program. So under IIA standards, or internal auditing standards, all audit activities or functions or departments have to undergo a quality assessment review at least once every 5 years, basically to evaluate conformance with internal auditing standards. So, as Barry said, joining us today is Jody Wynn. Jody was one of the validation team members performing the validation of the assessment. So Jody is the Director of Internal Audit at Jefferson County Public Schools and a member of the Institute of Internal Auditors. He holds the professional designation of Certified Internal Auditor, Certified Public Accountant, and Certified Fraud Examiner. She's an active member of the Louisville chapter with about 26 years of professional practice in the field of internal audit. And she serves as an independent quality assessor qualified to perform QA audits through or on behalf of the Louisville chapter. So with that, I would like to say welcome, Jody.
Thank you, Kevin. I'm pleased to be with you all here today. Undergoing a quality assessment review is a very vulnerable position for an internal audit shop to do. It puts us on the other side. As you know, we are responsible for performing, our internal audits are responsible for performing reviews of organizations, but it's also important that as a profession, we ensure that those reviews are being performed in accordance with the standards. So as Kevin explained, once every 5 years, internal audit shops will engage either an external assessor or in this case, Kevin and his team performed what they call a self-assessment. And then as volunteers of the local Institute of Internal Auditors chapters out of the Louisville location, we came in and performed retesting and validated those. You may recall some of you received surveys from us. Kevin sent them out, but we compiled those surveys and reviewed that and used that as part of our information gathering. We spent about 3 days or 2.5 days in the offices of Kentucky Housing Corporation, reviewing documentation, reviewing the evidence that was pulled together for us so that we could make an assessment. The result of the quality assessment could be one of 3 opinions. It's either you're generally conforming, you're partially conforming, or you do not conform to the standards. I'm happy to report that based on their self-assessment and our validation of that, Kentucky Housing Corporation's internal audit department is generally conforming with the standards. So you can feel comfort that the work that they do is in accordance with the IIA standards and they are doing high quality work. During our review, we did identify a few different things. We identified some successful practices. We did identify 2 areas that we believe that there may be some gaps in what the standards say and what's actually being done. And then we also had a few opportunities. I'm going to run through those quickly for you. With regards to successful practices that we feel Kevin's team is doing at a very high level is with regards to the their audit charter. They're reviewing that and it's aligns with the internal audit model charter very well. They have developed a very thorough quality assessment improvement program checklist that's used for their audits to ensure that they're meeting all of the requirements. From review of the survey responses and the interviews we performed, we found that internal audit staff are well respected across the organization, that they are instrumental in identifying potential conflicts of interest, wealth of experience, vital to ensuring compliance and preparation for external audits, and they provide feedback to management quickly and effectively. We also saw that in the work that Kevin does in preparation for his annual audit plan every year, he has a very good survey that he's put together and that management responds to help him in the work that he does in preparing what assignments he should be focusing on in the following year. And then finally, they take ethics very seriously, and they've developed a very good protocol to review the statement of compliance with the IIA Code of Ethics annually, and each staff member signs it. And we think those are to be noted. With regards to gaps, one of the areas is with regards to the quality assurance improvement plan. So what the standards require is that a QAIP be implemented, but then it be reported on to management and the board of directors. And while there was definitely evidence that Kevin has a strong quality assurance improvement plan, we were not seeing where those results from those self-assessments are not formally communicated to in writing to senior management and the board. And I think he and I chatted about that, and I shared with him at least how I work to comply with that standard in my annual audit plan every year. I just have a statement in there embedded into that audit plan, giving the results of my QAIP as well as so it's written in there, aware that it's occurring. The other item so again, it's not that he's not doing it, he's just not formally communicating it. The other item was with regards to changes in the plan. No plan, and I'm sure he tells you this when he brings forward his plan, changes are going to happen. Different priorities are going to rise to the level that need to be reviewed, and certain projects may be postponed or taken off due to, circumstances that, just changes that happen over the year. And while it's acceptable to have those changes, what we didn't see is a clear delineation and communication to the board and management of what things may have been added, deleted, or postponed to the next year. So again, Kevin and I chatted about how I do that in my plan, where I just clearly communicate whether or not I've removed an item and why I've removed it, whether, we postponed it to the following year or, added it based on request from management. And I just think, again, in his status update that he gives to the board and management, that would be a good place to document that. So it's very well followed. And then finally, we did identify just some opportunities that we think can further help strengthen the control environment for Kentucky Housing Corporation. First is expanding assessments related to information technology. While Kevin is a CISA, which is a very strenuous certification to obtain, he's still limited based on what tools he's able to invest in. So while audits, have basic internal control reviews related to IT technology embedded in each of the reviews, I think there is some opportunity for broader IT risks that could be addressed through the plan, such as ransomware readiness, the adequacy of the IT risk assessment. That may require, relooking at the budget and addressing those IT risks maybe with an outsourced partner, because sometimes it's difficult for us smaller shops to have the tools that are necessary to do those more sophisticated reviews. But I do think they're necessary in ensuring, since cyber risk tends to be the top of mind of where, we need to be securing. Another area is to reestablish the enterprise risk management process. We could see that there was evidence that KHC once had a very robust ERM process, but it's kind of gone dormant. And I know because of the pandemic and lots of other things, those can sometimes get put on the side. But a robust ERM process is recommended as a best practice to ensure the organization is identifying and mitigating risk to the organization in achieving its objectives. And finally, we also suggest reestablishing the process to obtain feedback at the end of each audit engagement. Kevin has created a survey that he had sent out previously at the end of every engagement, but that process has kind of gone dormant as well. But it's recommended that, any mature audit feedback process provides the person receiving the report to provide feedback to internal audit so they can continue to improve and adapt to changes in the organization. So as we mentioned, overall, KHC got the highest rating, which is generally conforms. Just those two areas where we thought, they're doing the work, it just could enhance it a little bit by more effectively communicating those results to management and the board. And if there are any questions, I'm happy to answer them. We appreciate it. And James wasn't able to be with us, but we definitely appreciated the time. Not only is performing these reviews, I think, great for the profession, but it allows us to learn from each other and continue to grow and enhance the reputation of the internal audit profession as a whole. And I know you all know, but Kevin is a great leader of that department, and I enjoyed working with him.
Thank you, Jody. And on behalf of the audit department, I'd like to extend our appreciation to you and to Jim, both for working with us through the entire QAR process, basically helping us and helping our department to meet the requirements under the standards. It's good working with you all. Thank you.
Yeah.
So does anybody else have any questions of Jody or Kevin? Hearing none from either my board seat or my interim seat here as the chair, I will say this, Jody, thank you for giving us a fresh perspective, because I think that's extremely great that we get something outside occasionally. And I greatly appreciate you just giving him the tools to get better. And for Kevin, thank you for giving us the security blanket on the the board seat because you make our nights a little bit longer.
Thank you.
So keep up the great work, guys.
Thank you all very much.
And I will add one more thing, and Kevin didn't share this, but I did work for Kentucky Housing Corporation many moons ago and still have a deep love for what the organization does. It was very weird to be there and not really know very many people anymore, but obviously it allowed me to be independent, but my heart still, is definitely committed to the work that you all do. And thank you for all of that you all do.
Sounds wonderful. Well, thank you guys. Now moving on to number 7, the presentation of the financials. I guess we have Mr. Grinch.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In front of you here is the pro forma statement of net position as of September 30 of 22 compared to June 30 of 22. This is one of the most boring statements I think I presented to the board. There's virtually no significant changes in any of our balance sheet items. We still got about the same amount of assets. We've got about the same amount of debt. One item that did change, you'll notice on line M, which is the net position, we are actually going to report a loss, and that's on the next schedule, of just a fraction from the income statement. And all of that is due primarily to marking the investment portfolio to market, which I'll cover in just a minute. I think what is significant on the schedule in lines N and P or O, where the servicing portfolio off balance sheet is still growing, and the weighted average net servicing fee inched up just 0.2 basis points. For years, we sold much of the servicing fee so we could accumulate cash. We are now at a point where that is not so important, although accumulating servicing fee on high rate loans is not necessarily something we want to do to excess, but we need to get that servicing fee up just a little bit and continue to grow the portfolio just a little bit. That's our future income is of the servicing portfolio is vested in those two lines. If we can go to the next statement, which is the income statement. This is where some of the action is this quarter. Looking at line B, you'll see there's a decrease in the total amount of interest expense for the 3 months ended September last year and the 3 months ended September this year. If you recall, we refunded a bunch of bonds in late September last year and in the first week of October, and dramatically decreased our interest expense for the first quarter. Everybody here, I'm sure, is aware of the interest rate market now. We do have variable rate bonds in our portfolio. Those interest rates have increased. And so some of the pluses of that refunding are going to show up as increased interest expense going forward. So it's not a bad story. It's just one that's indicative of what the interest rates are doing to the bond portfolio, or to the bond portfolio. That's right. If you go to line D, this is a significant change from last year. I think at the October board meeting, I mentioned that our performance on selling loans, or gains on sale of loans, was dramatically lower. Again, it's a reflection of what's out there in the market. The Fed dumping its MBSs on the market, which is suppressing prices, rising interest rates. All of those are contributing to a much reduced appetite by the buyers of our Ginnie Mae pools to pay up for them. And so it has been a struggle. October and November were not good months. We are still year-to-date profitable selling loans, but not nearly as robustly as the board maybe and I had become accustomed to over the last 30 months. And so that is a decrease, and the decrease will continue as we compare the 6 months ended December to the 6 months ended December last year, et cetera. But we are making loans. We are originating loans. We are helping people get into housing, first-time home buyers. We're just not making the piles of cash gains that we made the previous 2 years. If I can skip to line F, another major contributor to our overall performance is the fact that, again, rising interest rates causes investment securities to decrease in value. That decrease must be recorded. It's a paper number. If we don't sell those securities at these depressed prices, but hold on to them till maturity, we'll get all of it back. But from a reporting, from period to period reporting purpose, we do have to mark those to market, and that costs us $8 million in bottom line for the first 3 months of fiscal 23. In between those two numbers, line E, you'll see that there was a pickup from $3.9 million to $5.3 million. We did receive a little over $1 million of TCAP money back. The way that works through the governmental side and over to the proprietary side is once it comes back a second time, it is free and clear of any strings attached, and it comes over to the proprietary side as revenue, and that accounts for the lion's share of that increase from last year to this year. In addition, we did close and book a slight increase in multifamily fee income that contributed to that $1.4 million increase overall from this year to from last year to this year on line E. Looking at line H, which is general administrative expenses, a fairly significant increase there. That is reflective of all of the COVID programs that we're running full bore the first quarter of fiscal 23. We were still ramping up a lot of that in the first quarter of fiscal 22. And almost all of those expenses are sitting in increased payroll and benefits and business services. That's all I've got for up at the top there. Then you'll see in line O, we had a profit last year of 11 million won, and a small loss this year of $1.4 million, causing a small decrease in the net position from last year to this year. If we didn't have to book the mark to market, the numbers below will reflect that we're still trailing last year by $4.2 million. Almost all of that is sitting there in the gains on sale of loans. And so it's a much more difficult market that we're navigating through, but we are navigating through it. And so we will continue to be able to produce loans and at least make a little bit of money doing it and serving the Commonwealth. Going to the next page, there's a few lines that show some fairly significant differences this year to last year. Line B, cash flows from non-capital financing activities, shows a big outflow of 93.5 last year and only 7,700 this year, or 7.7 million. That's the payroll, or excuse me, the pension bill that we paid in the first quarter of last year. And so that accounts for virtually all of the difference there. And then going down to lines K and L, because we paid out for the pension and relieved some of the corporate resources that we were using to finance loan activity, we have had to use our lines of credit more in fiscal 23 versus fiscal 22. And you can see that the proceeds from issuance of debt or draws on lines of credit are up almost double what they were last year. And principal payments on, there were no principal repayments on revenue bonds during the first quarter of 23, but the lines of credit did have $108 million repaid there. And so the fact that those are about $50 million apart means that we've had to essentially, on a revolving basis, borrow more to finance the loan activity than we did last year, because most of that was funded from internal resources. On the next chart, which is getting to some of the budgeted items and business activities, if you will, the big number here is on line E. I'm on the second column from the right, dollar variance. We are under budget on a revenue side of almost $1.2 million. We budgeted back in March and April what we thought we were going to be doing in fiscal 23. HOAF, which is the Homeowners Assistance Fund, did not ramp up as quickly as we had budgeted that it would. And similarly, the ERF and ESG CV activities were not running as robustly and as they had been budgeted during March and April. Similarly, and we'll get to that on the next chart, the expenses related to that this revenue is a recovery of, those are also under budget. And so we budgeted high expenses, we budgeted high reimbursements. We didn't hit the expenses, we didn't hit the reimbursements. And so that's what accounts for the $1.2 million unfavorable dollar variance on this chart, offset by favorable variances on the next chart. Going down to line G, overall servicing income is up $200,000 over budget. That's the recovery of servicing fees on all those forbearance loans during COVID. That is, those loans cure. We're getting, in some cases, 30 payments on some of these loans, and embedded in each of those 30 payments was a piece of servicing fee. Some of it was budgeted and anticipated, but we're happy that we're able to beat budget just a little bit there. Rental production on the multifamily side, much of that is a timing issue, that we don't know when these projects are going to close and when the funds are going to come in, but we feel that we're still on track to hit the budget for the overall fiscal 23. Home ownership is down a little bit. Pricing of our product is very difficult. Selling the product is difficult. And much of that is a reduction in the number of extension fees that we received last year, as the lenders who were unable to fill their obligations on time, and they paid an extension fee. With their business down 70 to 80% because of the refi and general purchase activity down, they're getting their loans closed on time, and we're not collecting those extension fees. And that accounts for a little bit over $100,000 of that $168,000 unfavorable variance. And then going down to, you can see for overall in line N, we're $818,000 under budget on the fee income side. However, we are $1.4 million under budget on the operating expenses side. So overall budget versus actual, we're about $592,000 ahead. And on the final chart is an analysis of our expenses. Some of these variances look and are fairly large. As I said earlier, that we had budgeted the overall activity level of a lot of the COVID programs to be higher than they actually have been. And so we have favorable variances on salaries and benefits and contractor and temps and business services. And those are the main expense units, if you will, or expense classifications that the COVID programs consume, and they're not consuming as fast as we anticipated they would. And so we have a favorable variance there. Similarly, as I previously explained, if we don't have the expense to recover, then we don't have the reimbursement. So you didn't spend it, you don't get it back. And so we're unfavorable on the income side, as we just covered, and favorable on the expense side. Going down the line, there's a couple of items. Liquidation shortfall, line O, that is unfavorable to budget, $65,000. That is a financing activity that servicers of large portfolios of delinquent loans, servicers of large portfolios, they use certain techniques to manage or minimize the losses that might be surfacing from that. And the initial realization comes through liquidation shortfall. Much of that is recovered when claims are filed with HUD to recover the interest that we had to prepay into the Ginnie Mae pools. Shuffle my papers here a little bit. Several of these other items are also COVID related, as were the top four. Foreclosure costs and related fees on line G. Foreclosures are increasing as loans come off of forbearance, and they're not able to recover through the claims process or the homeowners assistance fund that we administer. Unfortunately, they will go into foreclosure, and those costs are resuming where they were 3 years ago, pre-COVID. There's not an alarming number of loans that are going into foreclosure, but it has resumed the pace that we were experiencing pre-COVID. I covered the liquidation shortfall. A couple of items are timing issues. The line L on employee development and line Q, which is insurance. Those are some timing issues. We are working extremely hard to get the budget numbers quarterly weighted the way that will reflect more of how we spend the money. In other words, if we know we have a major telecom item that's going to be taken care of in the third quarter, our normal MO on budget is to divide the yearly budget by 4 and have equal quarters. And there are some expenditures that are not steady expenditures, but one-offs or concentrated in one quarter versus another. And we're working extremely hard to try to get that reflected into the year-to-date budget numbers so that these variations don't show up as dramatically that are a result of one-offs and timing differences. But it's an imperfect art, to begin with. And but we're hoping to get that closer. We will be adjusting year-to-date numbers for the first 6-month period as of December 31st to hopefully, it's not to smooth out what we're doing, but to better line up our anticipated quarterly expenditures with the actual quarterly expenditures. And if we miss by a quarter, it will show up on these schedules. It's not a way of saying, oh, we want to keep the differences down by adjusting the budgets to actual. It's a matter of in advance analyzing where the budgeted numbers are actually going to be expended and show it that way on a quarterly basis. Overall, it's a very difficult environment that we're working through. There are still tremendous need out there for COVID programs, the homeowners assistance funds, ERAs, ERFs, the ESG CV. Still a huge need out there in the Commonwealth for those services. There are homeownership demands out there that we are managing to meet, albeit not at the robust results to the bottom line as we have in the past. We are very mindful in the finance and accounting area of liquidity positions. We are employing some techniques to make sure that should we need liquidity quickly, we're able to access liquidity quickly. Much of that's vested in our lines of credit, but there are also certain other techniques that we are employing on the balance sheet so that if we need to convert to cash, we can. I see absolutely no problems with liquidity, but part of my job is to make sure that if there is a liquidity, some liquidity issue that could arise, we're prepared to handle it, and we are. And so when you look at our balance sheet, we have close to $500 million of net worth. A lot of that's sitting in assets that can be liquidated if we have to, but I don't see, if you manage liquidity going into a situation or into the future, then generally you have liquidity according to plan, and we do, and we will. And so it's not a great report. It's difficult to present the performance that I've presented here because of the unbelievable results of the last few years. But it's a reality check, and I think we're doing pretty good, pretty well considering the environment we're operating in. Are there any questions?
So hearing none, Jim, again, fabulous job. You've made the, again, complex easy for us this year. It's very difficult what you're having to present. So numbers are not great right now for anyone, but no, I do appreciate everything you're doing.
Thank you.
You're kind of like the Grinch. You know, when the Grinch had the problem with the small heart, you make the small heart actually larger. I'm trying to actually pump him up for once.
I've got my magnifying glass right here. I'm ready.
Yes. You're one person I love to give a hard time to.
Yeah, I don't notice that. I'm well aware.
Well, you also give it back, so I appreciate that as well.
Exactly.
I don't know what we do without you, Jim. Moving on, the board of directors regular meeting schedule. I think Laura has got that in our packet. Actually, she's got it on the screen right now. Doran, do you want to talk to that? I think you're on mute, or either I am. I guess I can be. Oh, here you go.
I thought I unmuted myself and I did not. So the corporation's bylaws state that the regular meetings of the board of directors are to be held at 2:00 p.m. Eastern time on the last Thursday of February, April, May, August, October, and then on the second Thursday of December in Frankfort, unless otherwise designated by the board of directors of Kentucky Housing Corporation. So KHC recommends approval by the board of directors of a resolution adopting the following schedule of regular meetings for the calendar year of 2023. All meetings to be held at 2 p.m. Eastern time, February 23rd, April 27th, May 25th, August 31st, October 26th, and December 14th.
Okay, I make a motion. We accept.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Aye.
Great. So our course of action for the board meetings for next year has been approved. So I'm going to go with any informational items. Winston, do you want to address anything here?
I just have a couple of things that I'd like to say. First of all, I'd like to thank you all for being in attendance today. I know some of you had to make a special effort to arrange your schedule to be here, and others had planned on being here, and you stepped in for them to be with us today and give us a quorum so that we could conduct our business. I know this happens to be a particularly busy time of the year, and many people had conflicts, but I think just pay attention to your schedule here that we've posted now and that we've approved for next year. Try to get those dates on your calendar. And I think we will be following up with you before each of the board meetings a day or two in advance to confirm who can attend and who cannot, so that we are ensured that we have a quorum at each of our meetings and can conduct all of our business without any minimal inconvenience to you all who give your time so generously. This morning, I had a conversation with Chair Mike Denham, and as Lauren had indicated, Chairman Denham has been recovering from surgery and could not be with us today, but he is recovering at a steady pace and will be back with us before you know it. But he particularly wanted me to pass along season's greetings and happy holidays to each of you all, and to all the Kentucky Housing Corporation staff or others that are participating in this meeting. So season's greetings and happy holidays from Mike Denham. And the same thing comes from me on behalf of the corporation. We wish each of our board members happy holidays, and we look forward to seeing you in the next year. That's all I have, Barry.
You as well.
Thank you for serving today.
So is there any other items from the board or the staff for that matter?
Just marking that it's been a year since the tornadoes, and the excellent work of KHC trying to coordinate with everybody else, and how appreciative I am.
Great catch, Kathy. So with that, do we have anything else? I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion, Beverly.
We have a second.
Steve will second.
I am assuming that all is in favor of that.
Aye.
Aye.
Don't even need to, can I do that by acclamation?
Thanks, Barry.